So today's topic, we're talking about vulnerability. Let's talk about that right now. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me this week for another episode. I really appreciate you coming back. So I want to talk about two things actually this week. Vulnerability is one thing that we're going to talk about. But first I want to talk about one of the things that I've been doing a lot more of in my life, and that is writing. And I've been doing more and more writing. And it's actually something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to write and actually eventually publish a book. I actually want to be able to do that. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually writing a lot more in my journal, and I'm writing articles now. But why have I decided to write more recently? And it's because I've really found that being able to take what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and putting that on paper is very therapeutic. It's actually really helpful to me to be able to sit down and take some time to really ponder what it is that's going on in my own mind and in my heart, and to be able to transfer that to paper. Now, some of the things that I'm doing, I'm journaling a lot. I journal every morning now, and I'm also going to start doing journaling every night as well. Part of this is I'm writing more goals. And I'm developing more goals. And it's led me to actually write a vivid vision for myself for the next 3 years, which I did recently. And all of that kind of fed into, all that journal writing fed into that. And something else I'm doing with my journal as well is I will write my own feelings that I have had, my own thoughts, my ideas that I get. It's a little bit of creativity, but it's also a little bit of a chance for me to vent to paper, vent to myself. Someday I'm going to come back and I'm going to read it. Journaling is such an important piece of our day. It's amazing how I feel after I'm finished journaling, and I'll do it first thing in the morning before I head out the door. And as a result, I've started to write more ideas, and these ideas and these feelings and thoughts that I'm getting have really started to blend into some articles that I'm starting to write. And recently I created a new article on vulnerability. And that vulnerability article I posted recently on Medium. I'll share the link below. And I want you to read it and then tell me what you think about it in the link below. I would love to see your thoughts about this. It's a very vulnerable piece on vulnerability. I'm sharing a great deal about something that I've dealt with and gone through with everybody, and I encourage you to take a look at it. It's very personal, and I think that it really reveals what someone could be going through in their depression. I'm hoping that it will spark someone to know that they're not alone. Someone who's depressed, they'll know that there are people out there that care. In vulnerability, I've chosen to be more vulnerable. That's, with this topic that we're talking about today. I'm being more vulnerable here. I'm being vulnerable with my YouTube channel. I'm being more vulnerable with my articles that I'm writing. I'm sharing more of myself, more of what's going on here and here with everyone. People that I know and people that I don't know. I am really putting a lot out there for people, and the main reason I'm doing it is because I'm hoping that there's someone out there that I can reach that needs help, to be able to take the experiences that I've had and to use them. So my vulnerability is meant to be a help, but for anybody who chooses to be vulnerable, it's not a weakness. Vulnerability requires a great deal of courage to be able to share those deep and innermost painful feelings and thoughts that you're having, as if you're someone who's depressed. And someone who is in that situation really needs to be able to open up and share what's going on. Be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. It is the first step to getting the help that you need to be able to feel better. I mean, you almost feel better when you find someone you can trust to be vulnerable with. You find that feeling of that weight that's being pushed down on you just really makes a huge difference for you. So I encourage you, if you're depressed, if you're really anxious and you're having difficulties, you really need to be able to be vulnerable. This leads into something else I want to talk about, which is human connections. It's important to make human connections so that you can be vulnerable. It's impossible to be vulnerable with yourself. I mean, come on. You could talk to yourself all day long, but people start to look at you funny. I mean, really, be vulnerable with other people. Don't be vulnerable with yourself. Make those human connections. I did not have as many strong human connections when I was depressed, and I really wish I did. I wish I had more. I probably would have gotten through it a lot quicker. I isolated myself a lot. And I shared with very few people what was going on and really had struggles with that. I know that had I been more open and had more people I could talk to, I probably would have done better. And since then, I've worked on building my human connections more, and not because I need somebody to vent to or to dump my problems on. I really value having good friends and people around me that I care about who I can make a human connection with. It's why we're here. We're here to get to know each other and to work together and to help each other. And the human connection is so important in our lives. It helps us thrive. It helps us to feel needed, wanted, and to be able to give and to return the favor of what we're given back, to be able to help people and be of service. That's why we're here, everybody. If you're someone who's on the receiving end of that vulnerability, the message I want to send to you is be empathetic. Listen to them and be sure to not fix their problem for them. That is not what you're there to do. You're not there to fix the problem. You're there to just listen. You're there to just help them and be understanding. That's all it is. And while you're doing that, you're really helping that person. You're being a service to them. You're giving them a part of you. You're being vulnerable as well. You are being vulnerable because you're being put in a position to listen to something that, may make you uncomfortable. It might be difficult to listen to. You might have a hard time hearing what's being said. It might be painful for you too. But that vulnerability is important for both of you to be able to work through it together. Now, the one thing I want to add here is if that person is in really bad shape, if you as the person listening, if you're concerned that this person might be suicidal or even thinking about it, you need to ask that question. You need to be able to say, hey, are you having thoughts of suicide? Have you considered it and have you planned something? These are questions you need to ask because, and you can't be afraid to ask these questions. The person may react strangely to it or they may be willing to share. But you can't, suicide can be such a delicate word, and it really shouldn't be. It needs to be something that you ask the question and try to see if that person will actually answer. And if you feel that person has had thoughts, or they tell you that they've had some thoughts and they've thought about it, but they're not really wanting to follow through, it's still important to get them the human connections needed, whether it's family, friends, a counselor, someone that will help them with dealing with what's going on. Now, if this person is suicidal and you feel that there is a danger, an imminent danger with this individual, that they are ready to harm themselves, then it's time to call a crisis line. It's time to call somebody immediately and get them the help that they need. Don't delay. Just don't delay. You are trying to save a life, and that's what's important here. So with that said, for me, vulnerability, I'm very vulnerable. As you can see here, I'm very vulnerable. And I'm very vulnerable with my family. I'm very vulnerable with my friends. I am not afraid to share how I feel to people because I love my people. I love them very much. They are so much a part of me, and I want them to know how important they are to me. But at the same time that I'm being vulnerable with those feelings, I want them to know I'm okay. I'm fine. They know I deal with depression. So if I'm not being open with them, they're going to be suspicious. So if I'm being open and I'm being vulnerable, they know I'm fine. They know I'm doing all right. And I want them to know I'm okay. And that's important to me as well. Everyone, thank you so much for watching another episode this week. I love all of you. Thank you, and we will talk to you again next week. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my video. It means the world to me that you stuck it out all the way to the end. Make sure you subscribe below because I'm just getting started and I'm going to be adding more content on a regular basis.